The Building Brands podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of industry leaders who have successfully built a brand. Join me, Robert Royer, president of Building Brands Marketing, and an entrepreneur who has successfully scaled multiple brands as we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and insights that have shaped the success of industry leaders and provide you with the resources you need to do the same. Building Brands Marketing is a full-service marketing agency specializing in crafting customized marketing strategies for service-based businesses with a creative powerhouse to drive real results. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast. Welcome to the Legal Leader series of the Building Brands Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ryan Higgins, partner and attorney with Gaudry, Ranson, Higgins and Gremillion LLC. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. Ryan, thanks for being on the show today. I know you've been with the firm through a lot of growth and high stakes cases. So how about you kick us off by just telling us, what your firm has done to stand out in such a competitive market in Louisiana?
Sure. So we've been around just over 40 years now. I think what we've done is we've built a good brand and reputation as a defense firm here that can handle serious cases, handle them efficiently, deliver good results from our clients. And I think a lot of that, probably goes back to just really being consistent, for a long period of time. And just also having an ability and a willingness to handle complex cases as well. I mean, sometimes those two things aren't the same. There's a lot of firms that maybe have the ability to do it, but you have to be willing to do that sometimes and kind of go the extra mile for your client. That's something we've done consistently for a long time.
Definitely. I know in speaking prior to today's show, you mentioned working on some major cases like the BP oil spill several years ago. What did you learn from handling something at that scale that still influences the approach on how you handle cases today?
So, that was obviously a big case, something we were privileged to do to represent the parish of Jefferson on that case. We're a relatively small firm of about 12 to 15 attorneys, give or take, depending on what year we're in. So that case, probably almost everybody here played a part in that. The attorneys, the paralegals, the staff, because it called for that type of representation. So I think what I really learned is like the team approach that you have to take in a case like that is really important, and that's something that I took from that and we've tried to employ in other cases we've handled in the future. The collaborative nature of the practice of law is very important. You don't always know the answer to something, no matter how long you've been doing this. So there's other attorneys that we had to bounce ideas on, involve in certain areas, and that's a resource we're lucky to have. We have attorneys that really know insurance coverage, that really know things like construction law, maritime, which that case involved, oil well, situations, personal injuries. So I think really the team approach to defending some of these cases is what I really learned from that case, and we've tried to do in other cases.
Yeah, Ryan, I know that historically speaking, your line of work has been heavily B2B focused, mostly built around referrals, things of that nature. So how have you been able to position the firm at all to attract more of the right types of clients with the reliance on that referral network?
Yeah. So I think it's, we've certainly sort of built good client relationships in the past already. Although, I mean, when you do bring on a new client, you have to try to bring that relationship and build that relationship as you have in the past with others to maintain them. And that's kind of what it's really about, maintaining these relationships and the service you provide. It's about being responsive, getting things to people timely. We have deadlines, they have deadlines, so we have to work collaboratively with our insurance clients, with our business clients to meet all those deadlines. That's something we've tried to do. We try to meet or exceed our clients' expectations. And there's a real need for legal services I see right now. And, there's something we try to offer our clients is to provide competitive rates, but still be able to deliver a high quality work product that they could get, from firms that are actually charging more. So that's sort of how we've set ourselves apart in this market. And, I think the referrals sort of flow from the work that we do.
Yeah. Do you find that somewhat creates a narrow market of potential prospects, from relying primarily on that referral pipeline, where, it sometimes, has a more narrow pool of potential cases to choose from?
Yeah, I think that it can. I guess we're sort of lucky to have clients that, they, especially in the insurance world, they have a lot of files, they have a lot of claims that they want us to handle for them. So I mean, from a business standpoint, that keeps us in business, even if the client focus is relatively narrow. We're able to do a lot of different types of things for those clients, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's something where, I mean, you're somewhat limited, in terms of what clients are going to be able to work with. And there's even things, of course, in the legal world, you could have conflicts of interest, right? So
Sure.
sometimes you're kind of, you have to play the cards that are dealt to you. You could have cases where here's a new opportunity, but we already represent another client, and that happens all the time. Especially in these construction litigation cases, a lot of times in personal injury cases, oil field cases, there's just so many players there, and sometimes you're the benefit of that as a law firm, and you get a case for that, and sometimes you have to
Yeah.
send it out elsewhere. So really maintaining relationships with other attorneys too is really important, because I've gotten cases certainly, from referral by other colleagues and, other law firms. So I mean, that's definitely a way that a lot of attorneys do get business in the kind of areas of law that we practice in.
100%. I know you've in terms of marketing, you've worked on some of your own content strategy, producing some blogs across the website, that sort of thing. And I know you mentioned that you got some good traffic from a blog that was written on wage claims and educating people on some different components related to wage claims as in Louisiana. And I'm curious, so we call that, from a search engine perspective, a discovery search query. So there's two general types of search queries that are relevant for businesses, like your firm. The first one will be a transactional search query, a business law attorney near me, or something like that, where they're obviously looking for your services. The second one is a discovery search query. It's more of an open-ended question that they're looking for a solution or an answer to, and in the answer to their question, you're providing useful content to the user that answers that question, and then ultimately, by providing it within your brand, you're saying, hey, if you need help beyond this point after the answer to this question, we're here to help. And I'm curious, do you see content playing a larger role in your marketing strategy moving forward of that nature, that discovery search content?
Yeah, I do. Just, I mean, that few blog posts I've done on wage claims, and probably one in particular, really drove just an unexpectedly high amount of traffic, calls, client interest,
Mm-hmm.
potential client interest to us. I've handled a lot of cases just based off of a simple, blog post, and it followed the format you're referring to. That's kind of a lot of the posts you see that are written that way, by law firms. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
certainly that indicated to me that, that can obviously work and generate business by providing that information. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I think, legal services are expensive, so a lot of clients want to see if they could solve their own problem potentially before they retain an attorney. And I mean, I think sometimes they realize they can't, but when they see you as somebody who provides the information, they look at you as maybe a subject matter on that expert or on that area, somebody that could potentially help them. So, I mean, yeah, I was honestly been blown away by the response that we got to that. I mean, I had a group out of Washington D.C. retain me recently, and they were attorneys who needed an attorney here locally for a client, and I mean they located that blog post and found me that way, and I'm representing them and, or their client in a matter here pending in Louisiana now, so it has a broad reach for sure.
That's incredible. what I talk so much about on this show is the fact like unique, valuable content can be one of the most powerful things in terms of marketing for a law firm, and not AI generated fluff, but unique, valuable content, because that value driving content can be found really easily through various search engines when it's truly uniquely crafted to answer the user's search query, like that instance. And I'm curious, just moving
Yeah.
forward into the future, Ryan, is there anything else in terms of your content strategy or marketing strategy as a whole that you feel like is another area of opportunity for the firm?
Um, you know, I'm not an expert in the marketing side. I mean, that was really just kind of like sort of a happy accident that created the kind of response that it did. I mean, I'd like to have the time to make more blog posts like that. That's something I'd like to do. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you look at it, I'm real busy working on these cases every day, getting the cases moving forward. That's a struggle that attorneys have. That's obviously why a lot of firms look to outsource that type of assistance and service. So I mean, but I would definitely like to explore doing additional blog posts, like that to try to sort of reach out to these potential clients directly. You know, just by providing information, let them find you if they think it could be a good fit. They contact you. You go from there.
Definitely. Well, Ryan, is there any other piece of advice that you would give to any other law firm or service based business owner out there?
Um, well, I really do. I mean, we're talking about it right now, but I really do believe in, you know, if you're going to market yourself, and pretty much every attorney has to do that in one form or another. So I mean, if find a way that you're comfortable doing it, but I really do think you need to put your personal brand and your and put content out there that shows that you have the ability to handle a particular matter for them, that you have experience in it, you're willing to do it, to write an article, write a blog post that covers a specific area that you feel like you're particularly knowledgeable in, that you have a lot of experience in. Because I mean, again, you like me, you could, if you're practicing a certain area of law, family law, estates, you'd be surprised, I think, by the amount of people who will find that, especially, online, and reach out to you, and it could really change your business.
Yeah, there's one last point I want to make on that. That's a great piece of advice, Ryan. So, one of the misconceptions for some people can be, well, if a lot of people on discovery search queries like that, if a lot of people are accessing that piece of content that are not in, let's say they're not in a state that you're licensed to practice, let's just say hypothetically, it's California and it's a California user, and you're not licensed to practice in that state anyway. Well, some people will have the misinterpretation that that traffic is not valuable or worthless traffic. And this is something that, I want to clarify, because the reality is, while that might not be a direct prospect for you, when that user comes in through a discovery search, they generally spend a little bit more time on your website, because they absorb, if they come to the website, they absorb most of the information on that page. So they spend more time on that page. And sometimes they then poke through other blogs, other articles, other resources within the website to get additional questions answered beyond that first question, or follow ups to that first question. And in those instances, those create engaged users across your website. Well, most platforms have, like, say, Google Analytics 4, where you can track that. And the more engaged users there are on the site, typically search engines will give a bit of a reward for that engagement score increasing over time. And so while that traffic source might not be a direct prospect, it can increase some qualitative components of the website to have like an indirect attribution to qualified prospects. And I think that's one thing that, a lot of business owners have a misconception on is, well, why do I care about this traffic that will never be a client for me? And it's almost like the old school version of the same reason you would go to a trade show and talk to someone that would not be a prospect, because they would tell 10 other people that could be a prospect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's obviously there's definitely value in that for sure. I mean, we all know there's people out there, um, that are influencers, or they create content online, and it's all about driving traffic, and they're making huge sums just by doing
Yeah.
that these days. So, and like people are willing to pay them that, and I doubt these companies that are paying that have done that without doing their homework, or they think they're losing money by rewarding these content creators. And I mean, so it's obviously
Yeah.
there's value to it. It can translate to dollars for your business when that happens. I mean, I think if I Google my name, as an attorney, especially, I think that I come up first before other attorneys, and there's other attorneys with the same name, and it's likely because of some of the content that I've put out
That's
there, the blog post.
That's exactly right. Yeah, a lot of the search engine landscape has shifted over the past decade from quantitative to qualitative. It used to be, hey, try to drive as much traffic to your website, and the more traffic you have, the more it would raise your search rankings. Where now it's more about quality traffic going to the website. You could have significantly less traffic than someone else, but if it's high quality traffic and users that are having a fair amount of engagement on site once they land there, that has a heavier contribution to your search engine strategy. Ryan, this has been good information. Tell us, where can our listeners and viewers learn more about your firm online?
Yeah, well, we do have a website. It's grhg.net. It's the initials of the firm. We have our blog there, so hopefully we'll be posting some new content to that soon. And we also have a LinkedIn page for the firm, and I have a LinkedIn page as well. Sometimes I kind of post some shorter little snippets, or helpful information or advice out there on LinkedIn that don't always translate to a full blog post. So, you can find my LinkedIn by searching my name, Ryan Higgins, as a partner at Gaudry Ranson.
Very cool, Ryan. Well, thanks for being on the show today. Appreciate your time and take care. We'll talk to you soon.